All right. Welcome back, everybody, to Altcoin Daily. My name is Aaron. The reason that you subscribe to this channel is because on a daily basis, we break down the market, we make it easy to understand, we provide you with info, data, analysis, opinion, perspective. This is a video that you do not want to miss. Make sure that you watch the entire thing. I need to share with you all kinds of information that you otherwise would not know about unless you were a subscriber to this channel. So what I want to talk about in today's video is as follows. Basically, I want to do a little bit of market analysis. I want to talk about the state of the market. What's going to happen with Bitcoin? What's going to happen with Ethereum? What's going to happen with Cardano and some of our other favorite altcoins? I'm going to share with you some fantastic perspective from macro guru Raoul Pal. Raoul Pal is still bullish. This is the current breakdown of Raoul Pal's personal portfolio.
I know that in a bull market, ETH will outperform Bitcoin and alts will outperform ETH. Now, the ETH Bitcoin bet is easy because we know ETH, it's a giant, it's got massive network adoption, at least twice the rate of the network adoption of Bitcoin. And we've seen the whole rise of DeFi, NFTs, everything on top of ETH. So it's a great bet. So I'm 55% ETH, 25% Bitcoin, and 20% alts.
Anyways, we're going to get to this in just a second. But before we can talk about Ethereum, before we can talk about Cardano, we can't put the cart before the horse. We need to talk about the market mover because there are a couple of questions that remain unanswered. Number one, was this the bottom? Number two, what's going to happen in the short term? Are we going to retest the bottom? Are we going to go lower than the bottom, possibly $28,000? Are we going to go higher from here? And the bigger question is, for the midterm, was this the top? Are we in a bear market now? Or are we in a bull market? This is what I want to talk about. Now, I'm curious to know your thoughts in the comments below. If you've been in cryptocurrency for a little while, let me know your thoughts in the comments. What's going to happen in the short term? What are you doing? And do you think that we are in a bear market now, or is this a dip worth buying in a bull market? That's the question of the day. Now let me share with you some different metrics, some different data. Bitcoin MACD indicator on the daily charts is crossing over. Bitcoin MACD indicator on the daily charts is crossing over, like we have seen plenty of times in the past. This is typically a bullish sign, especially from this low. But we need this to be an aggressive crossover. So this is something we're watching very closely. Subscribe to the channel. We're going to keep you updated on a daily basis. Beyond that, Bitcoin, as it stands now, is forming a descending broadening wedge. Bitcoin is forming a descending broadening wedge. Again, this is kind of bullish. But there are two possible scenarios. There's this green scenario and there's this red scenario. The green scenario is breaking the resistance and maintaining the uptrend, meaning that the lows are in. The red scenario is a retest of the bottom of the wedge, 30,000, and a bounce from there. So, I'm sure at 30,000, a lot of people would be saying, I'm going to wait for 28,000. I'm not going to buy at 30,000. I'm going to wait for 28,000. But, there is a lot of support there, and we'd have to see how that plays out. The bigger thing is we need to make a new higher high to confirm a local bottom. The only way that this is going to be confirmed as the local bottom is if we start to see a short-term trend change, meaning a higher high, then a retest, and then a higher low, and then a continuation, a reclamation of 40K. Then we can start talking about a sustained move back to 50,000. Again, we'll be watching this very closely. Make sure that you are subscribed. Now, here's the thing. $28,000 today feels like $2,800 in 2019 for Bitcoin. So you guys all remember back in 2019 when Bitcoin hit $2,800. Oh, wait a second. That never happened. We never got below $3,200. But I remember at the time, for months and months, everybody was saying, you're foolish if you're buying Bitcoin at $3,000. I'm going to wait for $2,800 or I'm going to wait for $2,500. 500. So I think the bigger point here is that, just because you want it, just because a lot of people are expecting it, just because many people are commenting this, doesn't mean it's going to happen. And those of us who have been in the market a while, doesn't mean this isn't possible, but I don't think that it's happening. Now, taking a look at the broader price chart comparing this cycle in green versus last cycle in orange for Bitcoin, got to ask yourself, is this the buying opportunity of a lifetime? Not that it can't go a little bit lower, but is this the buying opportunity of a lifetime in a broader bull market, or is this the beginning of a bear market? To me, looking at this green line right here, this isn't normally how markets top. Looking at this, I see an asset that is more bullish than it was in 2017. Got overdone to the upside. The acceleration curve is much faster than back then. I look at this and I feel like the fun is just about to get started. Like we just reached base camp and are about to start climbing the summit. I tend to think that as well. And I don't just think that based on a whim. Taking a look at all these different metrics, on-chain fundamentals, you can see that things are still very much bullish for Bitcoin. So let me share with you some of these metrics right now. And by the way, guys, if you're getting value in this video, give it a like, comment below. That really helps us out. Or even feel free to post this on social media so everybody knows. Because I feel like so many people are talking about either selling or not buying here. And ultimately, again, this is not financial advice, but I think this is a great opportunity. 76.7% of Bitcoin supply is illiquid, meaning 76% is in wallets that are deemed strong hands that only have a history of accumulating and selling very, very little. And this is a metric that has only been trending up over time. Now, at the same time, demand for Bitcoin, i.e. new users, is growing exponentially. So Bitcoin price can only go one way in the long term. I tend to agree with this. Bitcoin long term remains bullish. 46 million Americans now own Bitcoin. As far as Americans go, it seems like America is ahead of many parts of the world when it comes to individuals owning Bitcoin. 46 million Americans, or 17% of adult population, now likely own Bitcoin. What does this mean? Well, one takeaway I have from this is that, everybody's always worried about regulation and then banning Bitcoin. First of all, we're seeing them regulated, which means game on, which means they're not going to ban it, they're going to regulate it. But beyond that, it's still a possibility. But when whatever threshold it is, whether it's 20% of the population, 30%, 40%, 50%, at a certain point, it is going to become wildly unpopular to do things against Bitcoin. If you're a politician and your constituency is one of the many millions of Americans who own Bitcoin. So Bitcoin continues to get more distributed, and this is what I'd like to see. And this is what I like to see. Sheetz has become the first U.S. convenience store chain to accept Bitcoin as payment. With 622 stores, the Mid-Atlantic convenience chain will begin allowing customers to pay for items inside the store or at the gas pump using Bitcoin. This is bullish, right? India has officially unbanned cryptocurrency. This just happened today. Now, this happens every year. They ban it every year. They unban it every year. I think for me, the bigger takeaway is that we're starting to see a switch between the FUD and manipulation that they were pumping out into the media. And now all of a sudden we're seeing things that are more true or more bullish now that they've probably bought low. For instance, this. Bitcoin actually uses way less energy than the banking system, a new paper reveals. So I think now that, some people have gotten in nice and low, now they're going to pump it up and say, hey, all the FUD we were talking about before, not really that important. Let's dive even deeper on-chain fundamentals. This is going to give us an even greater look at what's actually happening with Bitcoin on-chain. Bitcoin market currently has 3 supply trends in play. Short-term hodlers are distributing. Short-term hodlers are actually selling. Long-term hodlers are hodling or buying the Bitcoin that's being sold. And miners are accumulating. That's interesting. The Bitcoin market is a battleground between the bulls and the bears. So let's break down what's actually happening. So this gray line is the price of Bitcoin, and then we're pointing out different buyers and sellers. So these are the short-term hodlers. They are selling their Bitcoin. These are the people who just bought Bitcoin who are now selling in fear because they don't understand, as opposed to the long-term hodlers, which are not selling or are accumulating. We can see this line trending up as opposed to the short-term hodlers. That this line is trending down. And miners are now in accumulation mode. So these two things are what I would like to see if I would expect, Bitcoin to keep going up. So my personal opinion is, well, I have no idea what's going to happen in the short term with Bitcoin. My personal opinion is that this chart presents it the most clearly to me. And again, nobody knows the future, but in my opinion, this is a massive buying opportunity. And for those who are experienced in trading and investing, like Raoul Pal, he's taking risk with some altcoins. So let's talk about this. According to macro guru Raoul Pal, Cardano and other altcoins are going to massively outperform Ethereum, which is going to outperform Bitcoin in a bull market. This is what he has to say. I'm curious to know your thoughts on this. Pay attention. Macro guru and former Goldman Sachs executive Raoul Pal predicts Cardano and other alts will massively outperform Ether in a bull market. He says in traditional markets, once an established trend takes place, you move out of the risk curve. So for Bitcoin, he's comparing it to what he knows. So for Bitcoin being like government bonds, then you go to Ethereum, which is like corporate bonds, and then you go to junk bonds, which is all the other stuff, and then private sector lending. So I'm just moving out of the risk curve because the trend with Bitcoin is established, and I know that in a bull market, ETH will outperform Bitcoin and alts will outperform ETH. As Paul moves out of the risk curve, he says he doesn't necessarily know whether individual cryptos, like Cardano, will ultimately succeed, but according to the macro guru, an altcoin season means that as long as Bitcoin and Ethereum are showing strength, this is key in my opinion, as long as Bitcoin and Ethereum are showing strength, coins like ADA, coins like DOT, will likely outperform ETH. He says, I've got no clue whether Cardano is going to work or Polkadot is going to work or get network adoption. So I don't take a bet in that. I just take a bet in a bunch of them, figuring that if we're in an altcoin season, this stuff is going to go up 5x than if Ethereum goes up. And again, this is all predicated on Bitcoin being in a bull market. That's a market mover, and ETH and Bitcoin doing well. And as soon as we get into a bear market, all of these coins will outperform Bitcoin when it comes to losses as well. But, those of us who understand the risks are taking the risks in some alts. What do you think? Now, this isn't Raoul Pal's personal portfolio. This is the Real Vision cryptocurrency portfolio. What do you think? What do you think about ETH or Solana or VeChain or Cosmos or Link or Thorchain? Pretty interesting. He's got some good ones in there. And more than that, where are we in the context of the cycle in general? I'll be honest with you. When I hear people saying that this is it, this is over, that's bullish to me because us OGs recall that at the last cycle top, when Bitcoin hit 20,000 for like a minute, everybody was talking about, oh my God, people were euphoric, it's going higher, it's always gone higher. The fact that people are thinking it's going to go lower, that's bullish to me. I do think this market is going to heat up fast, and the moves we see at the end of the year will go a lot harder and a lot faster than what we saw at the beginning of the year. This happens every single time. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel for more videos every day. I really appreciate you guys.